Hi, Tim. Zach.
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Janet. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Hi.
And Tim, there was a late breaking email from the first select person that I forwarded to everybody, so you should see that in your email.
Yep, I was reviewing it now.
Sure, we're gonna talk about it. I do want to give Catherine a chance to join, right? Do you?
Bart out there. Maybe she's-
Okay,
Oh, upstairs.
we'll give her a minute. Maybe a few others want to join the Zoom as well. Oh, good, and here's Sherry. Hi, Sherry. We're just waiting on the first select and then Susie.
Hello. Get myself settled here.
Jumping tonight.
Is that your house, Sherry, or is that an office? Yeah.
Nope, it's my house.
Christina, did you send a text?
I can text her. It doesn't look like I have good service. If someone else wants to text her as well.
Text too.
I have her. Hopefully that went through. But just in case, if someone else wants to message her. Mine says SOS only.
SOS what?
SOS only. But I'm logged into the Wi-Fi, so I don't know.
Weird.
Doesn't like AT&T down here.
So it's the last one. Last one.
It's December.
Let's see, it's an update on the general fund. For the budget.
There she is.
There she is.
Hello.
Exactly.
Okay.
Came to my desk, so.
That's okay. So we can call the meeting to order at 7:03. Roll call. Christina Davis, I'm present. Pam Summers.
Here.
Paul Varga,
Here,
Keith Lipker,
here.
Judith Austin,
Here.
Angie DeSanto. Not here. And, Angie did ask that I seat Tim in her place, so, oh, sorry, I guess I should have said. Tim Rhodes, are you present?
Present, yes.
Thank you. And Angie said she would like to seat you in her place. So I am doing that now. So that's roll call and seating of alternates. Communications is gonna be thorough, I think. First off, I guess I'll just go through my email that I sent last Friday of follow-up items. And we can kind of go through those real quick. So the first follow-up question was, is there a cap on the motor vehicle mill rate for fiscal year 25? And the answer is yes. I will also point out that on the agenda for tonight, there is a typo. I wrote, where'd it go? Hold on. I wrote in the agenda that the state's 32.6 motor vehicle mill rate cap. That's incorrect. It's 32.46. I missed the 4, so. Just FYI on that typo. What are the fire department abatements for fiscal year 25? It's 7,000, so 7 people getting $1,000 each off their taxes. So that's less than what I had in my previous estimate.
It's not off their taxes, it's off their assessment.
So I actually asked about that specifically, and Linda Gagne
It's not
told
off their
me
taxes.
that it was off the taxes.
It is up there.
Yeah, Both
$1,000
Linda-
of what you
yeah.
pay for taxes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Both Linda and Lynn Byberg said that to me in an email. The municipal spending cap, how is it calculated and is it even relevant this year? I've spoken to, or I've communicated with people from OPM and from Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, and they said that as of right now, because there is no municipal revenue sharing grant money, there is no penalty to going over the spending cap. So as of right now, we don't have to worry about it. If something changes where the state decides to come in and say, hey, we are gonna fund this, that would change the situation. Now, the other piece of it is, how do we even calculate whether we're in that or not? And that's a question, Sherry, I'm hoping you can enlighten us on.
Yes, so that hasn't even come out yet on my OPM page. But I looked at last year's, and what happens is it's the total budget minus debt, minus special education, and minus capital.
Meaning the capital,
Improvement, your CNR, any capital that you.
okay,
So
so can we
What's
estimate
estimated as
that for what, with the proposed budgets?
you could, but they could change it and add some other line in there. Because they have updated it every year. They add something else to decrease off. Or add to.
How does any town manage this? I don't understand. Am I missing something? Doesn't it seem crazy?
It's kind of a report that's gets done after your budget.
Like,
What
I
is
know,
essential
it's
education?
backwards.
You said minus,
Special education.
oh, special.
Okay, well, we can put a pin in that because it's not relevant right now because they're not funding the
Funding it.
municipal revenue sharing grant. We may have to revisit it if that money reappears.
Okay.
Okay, oh, and the other question I had for you, Sherry, is there a balance in CNR? If so, how much?
I
Is that
didn't
a
get,
question you can answer?
I didn't
What?
get that. I didn't get that answer yet.
Okay,
Shame on me.
all right. I'd also asked for a new version of the capital improvement plan with the fire department roof removed because we talked about,
so I have some prints of that.
so like a new version. Right? Okay,
Hot off the press.
yeah.
Truly not all the press.
Great. So if you want to share that with everybody.
So. There's a proposal with the capital improvement budget. The Board of Selectmen has not had the opportunity to meet. However, we have had some changes over the last few days, gotten some additional information and worked through some things. So we have some proposed changes to the general government budget and to the capital improvement budget.
Thank you. So you can get there.
There are some of that.
You want to, is that maybe the fire department answer?
This is the. fire
Yeah.
department.
Thank you.
So Tim, this is all stuff that's in that email, so you can see it.
Yep, okay, thank you.
That's okay. I didn't think about that.
Catherine, did you have printouts of the 3/21/24 Board of Selectmen responses to Board of Finance questions? If not, I can share it on the screen.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Did I got rid of my pile here? I can help.
Distribute.
No, that was the part of it. Yes, I can. You know what, I think I left them upstairs.
I can print it up on
But
the
the,
screen.
if you just, you can put them up, they're very brief in terms of that document. So you can put those on screen.
Actually, wait a minute, I'm thinking through how I get it to this computer.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I can't get it on this computer.
Oh, you can't bring it up on the machine?
Yeah, because I have, it's on my email and
Oh,
it'll be a difficult situation.
okay, so I couldn't print up the, again, the selectmen have not met on the revisions that, but they have been, at least informed in general of what the revisions are that we recommend in the general government budget.
Okay,
As far as the, questions,
I can read them if you'd like.
I can read them, I got it. So the first question was the recreation fund. We had questions around mowing and rentals and what is this exactly?
Yeah.
So the answer is mowing covers Ashford Memorial Park play areas and ball fields and Pompey Hollow Park grassy areas. Rentals cover the 2 portalets rented from the United States Services from April through November each year at a
And
rate.
that was in the previous list of questions.
Okay. And the costs include $1,600 plus environmental delivery and pickup charges, total expenses $2,000. And then the capital improvement Kubota tractor, what will this be used for exactly, and how does that overlap with mowing contracts that we have with external vendors? The answer to that is the tractor is needed for the following: bush hogging the perimeters of Pompey Hollow Park, Ashford Memorial Park, Town Office Building, maintaining the purple dot trail in Ashford Memorial Park, skinning, York breaking in parentheses, the softball field at Ashford Memorial Park, and lighter roadside work. And then it says there is no overlap between use of this tractor and any mowing contracts. The only town mowing contracts are Parks and Recreation, mowing, trimming, fertilizing, seeding Ashford Memorial Park, play areas and ball fields, and mowing Pompey Hollow Park. And then the Sexton budget has mowing, seeding, fertilizing, town managed cemeteries. And then the fire department questions, you do have a printout of the answers to that, and that's in the email as well. So those were the clarifications there. And then the next clarification was for the Board of Ed to report back to the Board of Finance in terms of health insurance costs. Now, I do want to get to that, but I also feel like we should, I've done a lot of talking, and that we should allow for the public comment. And then we'll come back to the new, what you sent, the new version, Catherine, and what updates you have. Does that make sense? Okay. So we do have a public comment now, and it is a 3-minute time limit per speaker. Would anyone like to make a public comment? Somebody's got some background noise, I think. Anybody? I guess I didn't have to worry about comment. Okay. And I guess I should note that we have a selectman, Bill Folletti, on Zoom. And another selectman, Eva.
What? A third selectman is here?
Roger.
Roger Cross.
Okay, well, it's nice to know these things.
These are the capability, if that's your regular computer, do you have the capability of taking, what I sent for the presentation, and putting it into one of your shared files?
I could do that. Yeah, that's a good.
And then you
point.
can get to it from here. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right. Good. Bill, do you have public comment?
No, I have a question about public comments. Is there accept public comments during individual agenda items?
Bill, I think your
Yeah.
TV is bleeding through your mic.
There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Next
What-
up,
What was
sorry,
his question?
Bill asked if we allow public comment later in the
Oh, on the
agenda.
items.
And I said,
During individual agenda item.
sorry, during individual agenda items, and I answered no.
What is the man's name?
Bill Becker. Okay, next up, approved minutes of the regular meeting of March 14th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of March 14th, 2024?
Motion to approve.
Judy Austin, and a second? Keith Flipker, second. Okay, any discussion, any edits?
Just one, can you change it from Ms. to Mr.?
Oh, where is that?
I've been called a lot of things, but nobody's gonna
Hey,
call me
it's
back.
24,
It's at
anything
the
else?
very end somewhere. Hang on, I'll pull it up. I actually laughed when I read it.
We were just trying to see if you were paying attention. I see
Yeah,
it, it's on the last page.
Yeah, I actually have it highlighted here. It's on the last page.
It's because you voted no, so
That's it,
that's why
yeah.
I did that.
Right.
So I kind of have a question, kind of, I don't know if we should change it or not, but, so on the general budget section, it says that, there was another concern. So I had made that concern, but it seems like my name is very rarely put into the minutes. I don't know if it's because I'm not heard or, if it's just
I don't think it's intentional.
certain individuals, like, you know, if you're, you know, like a chair of a board, or how they figure out which names to put in, which names not to.
I don't know,
Okay.
and it's not intentional.
Oh, I know, I'm just
So if there's
asking why.
something in particular that you feel you should have your name
But
attached
I
to,
would like to have my name attached to that additional,
Okay.
which part was this?
so it's under general, when we were talking about the
Yeah, it
general,
says
and it
general
says
government
another
budget.
concern. So I brought up the concern about in the future, when we go through the reappraisals or reevaluations, that we should be mindful, if housing costs go down, the taxes have to be replaced by something, which means your taxes will have to supplement whatever is not covered at that time for the town.
Okay, so it says another concern is that if housing values decrease. So
Correct.
we could say another concern expressed by Miss Austin.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I know that, you know, we're a little bit slow in catching up, but I know some of the country, the housing is going down already. I don't know
Right,
how it's gonna affect Connecticut, but make people aware that when we're budgeting, we have to keep that mindful.
sure. So the edit there is just to add the phrase, another, expressed by Ms. Austin on the second page.
Thank you.
Any other edits for the minutes? Okay, then let's vote. All those in favor of the minutes? Aye. All
Aye.
those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the selectmen's update, which I don't know if you want to take that moment to,
Yeah, I don't think that we have, much to update from last week. What I will say is that over the last few days in particular, we have been able to, certainly
You
upstairs.
know what? Sorry.
Sorry.
I'll say. So. I was sending on an errand and I remembered I moved it.
So we have some proposals, that we'd like to make, which reduces the general government budget, rather dramatically. And also, what would be in CNR takes off Town Aid Road, which also reduces in terms of that. And, so I'd like to be able to present that tonight.
yes, and I would like you to present that tonight. I'm trying to figure out how to get it into my OneDrive. Give me 1 second. Let's see.
So I started with that. Rather than going in the most. And Bill, you would have received, this, the updated budget proposal that's just been drafted by the people upstairs. Um, via email, so if you pull it up, it should be, pretty good to read from myself.
Yeah, I did receive it by email, but unfortunately I couldn't open it up or download it. I assume I could pick up hard copy tomorrow.
Yeah, we didn't have time to print them. And
Oh,
also,
okay.
it's not truly official. We haven't had a Board of Selectmen meeting about it, but I want to take you through it so you can see what is being considered.
Very good. So I'm gonna be able to call it up on the screen.
You are able to pull it up?
I will, yeah, it's just uploading. Before we go into that, I just want to explain and make sure everybody understands what the motor vehicle mill rate cap means. So the state has said for several years that you can't tax motor vehicles more than at a mill rate of 32.46. So the mill rate calculation that I presented at the last meeting did not take that into account. So when I said these proposed budgets get us to a mill rate of 35.15, I was assuming that you could tax both real estate and motor vehicles at the same rate. Then come to find out, well, so like here, then come to find out, we can only tax those motor vehicles at this rate. So that creates a gap, and the gap is $115,000. Now, what I shared this morning is a document that shows what happens to the mill rate if you keep the budgets as proposed. You don't attempt to make up that 115,000. You end up with a mill rate on real estate and personal property of 35.48. So we went from 35.15 to 35.48. And that's why I sent the email last Friday that we needed to be aware of this and the changes to math. And now this was an issue last year, but because of where the cap is and where our mill rate was last year, that gap was much smaller and we kind of just papered over it. This year, we really can't do that.
I don't think we papered over it. If I recall, the state gave us funds to make up the gap last year.
Not last year, the year before. Last year, and my recollection is that either way, it doesn't matter.
It was a small amount, but yeah.
It was a smaller amount last year. It was less material. This year, because the state is not making up that gap, we're responsible for it. So that's where we are. Does everybody understand that gap issue? Yeah, okay. So next, we have discussion and possible action on proposed budgets. So we've got some updates from both the Board of Ed side and the Board of Selectmen side. Can we start? Yes, I think, well, I think I'm gonna suggest,
Well, I think we could probably share them.
I'm gonna suggest that Cindy go first, because I think it might be slightly shorter, but I don't know. We'll see. So what do you have to share with us, Cindy?
I don't have anything official, unfortunately.
Okay.
Our board is meeting on the 28th, to go over all of the proposals, but we did get, insurance numbers in. We decided to look at the state partnership closer and get some real numbers from that. And in order to do that, there's a whole process with your unions. And so that is taking place. So it would be we would be able to come in between 0.5% increase total to a 1% increase total with the savings from insurance. And we had a retirement in our paraprofessionals. And we have hired a substitute for this current year and decided not to fill that position and keep the substitute in that position. And we are able to, due to movements of students, we are able to eliminate that position. So,
And that's a general ed pair?
so it's special education para.
Okay.
So you have to have, there's certain, because you have, maintenance of effort, which is our special education funds. The state really watches, you can't decrease that fund without having reasons to decrease it. And students moving out or not needing that service anymore is an acceptable reason to go below the maintenance of effort in your special education costs.
Okay. So do you have an estimate of what that savings is on the para side?
About 32,000.
And then to go back to the insurance, because you said something about 0.5% increase to 1% increase. Is that referring just, what is that exactly referring to?
The overall, what we would be coming in overall,
So instead of a
3.01% increase. It would be around, between those two things, around a $200,000 savings. 100,000 is about a percentage.
So again,
This is all estimated.
yes, I know, but
I have no exact numbers.
right. But instead of a 3% increase, you're thinking at the most, you're gonna need a 1%.
At the very most, yes.
I thought you said 0.1%.
No, 1%, 0.5, between a 0.5%
Yeah,
to a 1%
oh,
increase
okay.
overall.
All right, just for funsies, I'm gonna do the math on that.
Oh, God, we haven't.
We do
Don't worry about it.
this,
I can give you the estimate, I just, nothing's in
I know.
stone, so it's hard because I know about 214,095 would be subtracted.
What is that figure for? 214,000.
That's
Would be
the-
subtracted from our bottom
Their
line.
budget.
so by my math, if the school, let me make sure I have this right, no, so this is last year, so if the school had a 1% increase over fiscal year 24, that number would roughly be 8,664,321. So, all right. So that's that. And then you'll get final, you're gonna get final
We're
numbers.
gonna have final numbers and be able to present it to the Board of Education so that they can approve that
March 28th.
on March 28th. And we will try to do that first thing because I know that there is also something going here and we will have a representative here that will get notification that whether or not it passed through
Okay.
the Board of Education.
Cool. All right, that sounds good.
So we can move things along.
Excellent. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Cindy about that?
Good job.
I mean, and I think we're gonna say thank you to Catherine as well, but I will say thank you to you for doing that amount of work, and taking this so seriously. That's, very much appreciated.
Are those rates locked in at this point? Or, and we're just waiting for the Board of Ed and the union to approve them, or is that something that?
Then you have to, I believe, write a letter of intent
To the state?
to the state.
Is that regarding the special education?
Sure.
Regarding the insurance.
Oh, insurance.
Cause we've gone down this road before once with the state and got,
Oh, yeah, that's right, I remember that.
so,
I can tell you, they're holding weekly meetings with the various heads of the municipalities in the state. Because I was going to attend one this week and they went, oh, there's another one next week. So I have notes from our broker who has attended those meetings.
that would be my only concern in this, is that we get all excited and then maybe we,
Rug gets pulled.
the road gets pulled, or maybe it gets half pulled, which is better than all the way, so.
To be quite candid, I don't think we have a choice either way, because the current insurance company is not going to drop their rate, and that is exorbitant. So, what we have
We
seen
won't be
is,
any worse off than we were.
Right,
the
we will not
previous
be worse
time. Right, so that's the good part. I'm just worried about, we get very excited about this and maybe, not that I'm not excited, I'm just trying to not be that excited.
You're cautious.
Well, my other question, I guess, and this would apply to both, because I know what Catherine is gonna present, I read through what she sent. Is that kind of puts a change in when we can actually say, go, if you will. If we have to wait for the 28th for the Board of Education to tell us that they approve those changes, how do we decide what the budget is gonna be?
And we know.
Well, we can do it on March 28th.
Right.
There'll be a representative here from the board.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, like, I'd hope, I personally, I'd hope we could lock that
Vote
tonight,
tonight.
but it sounds like we can't, and,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah, I was trying to not make people work really hard on that week, well, just that week in general, so.
well, and if you consider that March 28th is Thursday and
Yeah,
Friday is
Friday's
Good
Good
Friday. And that's Easter weekend, and I gotta tell you, I don't want any of my employees working
Well,
those days.
I can't, you won't get a lot of sympathy from me, because I'll probably be working.
Well, we do have technically on the budget calendar, April 2nd as a
Okay.
date. So we could, in theory, say, we're not gonna meet on March 28th. We're gonna meet on April 2nd.
Yeah, okay, well, let's see where we go, I was trying to, I know it sounds odd for me, but I was trying to be nice to the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen, because I don't want them to have to rush, and I don't want to rush either. I want to make an informed decision, but we have to wait till all that gets done before we can.
Yeah, and once we have those solid numbers, we will.
Right, and even if we did meet on the 28th, we can kind of sit here and drink coffee until you.
That's how they make their vote.
We'll have other things to talk about. We got the audit too, the audit RFP. Okay, so thank you for that update. And I'm sure we'll talk through the timing a little bit more later as well. Catherine, let me see if I can call up this.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to talk about first is what I summarized in the email, so, if you just give me a second here. All right. So we also, upstairs, have been looking at this. Mr. Williams. So we also have a savings in the insurance area. And ours is about $81,204. A reduction, overall. Now, this is a reduction that is based upon comparison with last year. And let me just reconfirm that, because I'm a little crispy around the edges. Sherry? You out there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
So when I just need to look at this more closely. But I need to talk with you about more than that in terms of our budget. So yeah, the savings is about $81,204 overall if we switch to the partnership plan. Now, what we did was we held an all-employee meeting yesterday. Yesterday? Was it yesterday? And had our broker come in and talk through aspects of the partnership plan. And I will tell you that it was pretty well received by union and non-union members. We don't have anything official yet. We're checking with the union to make sure that there's nothing that would be an issue. In terms of meeting the contract requirements, the plan is comparable or better than what we have today. So that, I don't think there'll be an issue with the contract. So we have a number of things that are changes that we recommend. From our perspective, at this point in time,
Catherine, just to point out, it
that's
is,
the one.
it is on the screen now.
All right, so what I did was I highlighted everything that has changed. Okay, so what you'll see is a proposed budget is a $203,578 increase, which is dramatically smaller than I had before. And again, this has not been reviewed with the selectmen other than in a very general sense. And we need to look at it closely ourselves. But I wanted to make sure that you knew that this is where we're going in all likelihood, which should be good news for you. This also assumes creation of a town aid road program fund to bank all town aid road grant monies and remove the expenditure and revenue lines associated with TAR from the general government budget and capital improvement plan. So let me step back on that.
Yeah, what is that?
Every year we receive two payments, and you have another document here for town aid road. And I want to thank Chris Abacoff, because she did the research on this. And Sherry, because we also worked through aspects of this with her. So according to the legislature, town aid road funding is supposed to be used for for the roads. All these aspects of taking care of them, including standing and building and whatever, and reconstruction. Many years ago, and I'm gonna say about maybe 30 years ago, there was a decision made, I don't know if it's documented or whatever, but it was to split what we get for the payments. We get the two, they total 200 and something. And so each one is about 174,000. 147. I'm sorry, 147,000, thank you. And $50. Okay, so if you just double them up, that's roughly what we get. So one payment comes at one time of year and the other payment comes another time of year, and it's documented in this August and January. So what we've been doing for years, and I don't think it was intuitive, it was not obvious, is that the second installment basically gets put into the general fund instead of into town aid road, where we use it for town aid road. So it's not really being used, not for our roads. The first payment is, and that's what we've been reflecting in our capital improvement plan. But this second payment has been going into the general fund, no connection, treated as no connection.
Wow,
And really that's improper
yeah.
because it's supposed to be used for this. So the recommendation we have at this point in time is to create a town aid road program fund and put the monies into there and then take the expense lines that are related to DPW doing road work in our general government budget and make the ones that are associated with town aid road that qualify for town aid road funding and make them zero. So what that did was that reduced our budget even more. So, I didn't put the whole number there, but that's part of that general decrease to the budget. So if you go to, let's go to, slide, and the slide numbers are on the top. Go to slide number. Well, I showed a update to distributions on slide 3. That's with the diagram or the pie chart. I did add a note that said general government management includes all town departments, boards, commissions, and committees, except for the senior center and parks and recreation. So your board is included in there. When we talk about general government management, it includes all the boards, commissions, and committees, except those 2 entities. They're reflected under community programs and services. So if you go to slide 5. Before, we only had areas of increase. Now we have areas of decrease. So I added that. Highway, public works, equipment, materials, we would bring it down 143,550. If we remove road maintenance expenses that qualify for town aid road funds. So we applied the 147.50 to that. Looking at registrar of voters, we had,
Can I ask a question on
Sure.
that? So. Cause this is revenue. This is revenue, right? This money, the 147,000 in 2 installments.
the way it's been reflected in the past, and Sherry can weigh in on this, is you see it as, we've had it in, listed as revenue, and what it's listed as revenue under the regular revenue sections that we have in our budget, okay, for one of the payments. I didn't see it listed for the second one. I think the first one goes into, essentially, it's reflected in the capital the capital improvement projects plan, but it's earmarked as town aid funds,
Correct.
town aid roads. Yes, would you?
Okay, so for the past, I don't know how many years we've in the town, in the road resurfacing line and capital improvements, we put in $205,000 as an expenditure. We have used the $147,000 payment as a revenue against that line. So there's still a draw on the 205 from CNR.
Making up that difference
Right.
between 147 and 205.
So we just thought it would be easier to take the whole amount out, take the whole road resurfacing out, and put the whole thing in a special fund
As a program.
as a program. And any road work gets drawn out of that fund.
Okay. And especially since we would now have additional funds because that second payment would go into there where it belongs.
Right.
And we've also are reducing the expenses within the general government budget for anything that qualifies for use of those funds, and there's quite a bit that does. So what it allows us to do is, 1, reduce the general government budget. But even better, it creates a place where the monies are kept and we have the second payment in there, which is a big deal. And we're not as hampered in terms of what we need to do with our roads, for one, because there's money, there will be monies available, more monies than we had. And it also allows us that when the monies are not all used up, we're banking money. So every year, we're banking whatever we can in there towards our roads and bridges and that kind of thing.
We also discussed the impact on your taxing for the road work. But whatever the allocation is in Department 3200, you're taxing for that.
In the general.
We have grant money to cover that, so you would remove the tax burden from that department. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. So for that, and you have a document that lays out what the statute says. It talks about the 147.50 for town aid town aid road as a funding source. And then, the proposal. And what it does is actually it reduces the DPW, Department 32 budget down to a bottom line request of 19,450. So if you look at, well, so we can get into that detail afterwards if you want. But.
But yeah, if you want to go on to the registrar of voters, you started. to-
Yeah, registrar of voters, Sherry and I caught it yesterday. They had, she thought their number looked low and I thought it did too, but they had a very complicated, I'm gonna call it spreadsheet, if you will. And, they had a couple calculation errors where they did not include a couple things in their subtotals. And then when they got to the grand total, it was a short number. So, the difference, did I put the difference in this page, this sheet? No, let's see. The difference on.
27,414.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's an increase. So, my email had a summary of what these increases and decreases would be. Now that we've got to this point. Let's go back into it. Actually, I don't know why I can't pull it up. I don't have my mouse.
I have it right in front of me.
You got-
So it says $15,240 increase to registrar of voters budget to correct miscalculation in original budget request was originally 52,825, increased to 68,64. So this is a bank error, not an unfavor.
This is a what?
I'm sorry, monopoly reference. So this is, so this one, unlike the insurance and the DPW that you just went through, those were reductions. This is one that turns out we got.
So I had reductions laid out. And in addition, the increases are for that correction. And there's another one where because we haven't filled an open DPW position yet, and we're in all likely about to, we are not sure if that person's going to want insurance. So we're upping, the recommendation, and actually it's my recommendation as well, because the other selectmen have not had the opportunity to look at this. And I don't like blindsiding them, but this was just done. Was to increase it back up to 50,000 from 15,000 to ensure that we have not underestimated what our insurance could be, should that person decide to join the plan and if they have a family or whatever. And that would just be in contingency.
Okay,
Oh,
is there more of this document that you wanna show?
what I wanted to, what I want to show. Here. Like I said, in the various, summary. So, oh, well, yeah, let me go back to, slide 5.
Okay.
Registrar of voters, the employee insurance going down, the $450 increase for the fire department. I changed the statement that was there that said add two people's staff. And the bottom line is this increased paid staff to ensure 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year of coverage. And I know, you can tell from the response to the questions that were asked of the fire department about missed calls, that kind of thing. We have, if I understand correctly, we had a missed call yesterday.
Last one.
Okay. So, I know that the, Board of Selectmen is, all three of us have, in our deliberations, we are loath to cut the fire department because one of the key responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen is the safety of the people in town. And that is a key aspect of our safety. So just letting you know that up front. So, as you go through, let's go back to slide, so there's something I missed. I removed Parks and Rec from this slide, as the insurance rate decrease will actually result in a $572 decrease overall for them,
Because of the change to the state plan.
the insurance brought it down. You have to remember that the insurance for that department is treated as a separate item.
Right.
So what I did was I kind of totaled these together, so you can see the overall insurance impact. Okay, then you have the summary section. Things are highlighted in there in terms of the bottom line numbers that changed for various departments as a result of these changes. There is one, I had overlooked on slide 8. For whatever, I had not included the general liability, line in the previous budget, so I put it in. Other than that, you can see the changes in employee benefits overall, right, the employee benefits, section of the budget. Recreation fund, that number went down to the 572. Savings, if you will. The, going to. If you get to slide 9, you can see the totals there. 5.3%. And the amount of change. And I checked every one of these numbers, every single one over again. You can see intergovernmental in terms of revenues went down, and that represents the, not only taking out the town aid road, but it also, there was, I forget what the other grant was that we're not getting very much of. It was like $3,000. I see Sherry's nodding her head. So that's a total of that. And because we don't know what the taxes would be, we can't put the whole thing together here. So this is just roughly information. So now I would like to just take you quickly to the areas within the budget, so you have a sense of it. And I'll just let you know which slides to pull up. If you go to slide 19, that's the registrar of voters slide. Here's where the highlighted columns are all the ones that changed. So you can see, and I put the note down at the bottom. It's a correction of calculation errors. And by the way, before this was submitted to you, I met with, even the original budget, I met with the registrars of voters, and what they agreed to was, based upon what they had asked for, a $3,000 decrease, cut to that. So that's still in here. If you go to slide 22, this is where you see the change in the highway public works department. For equipment, which did I spell that wrong? I think so. Yes, I did. Just so you know, at the bottom, this is having removed the expenses to be paid, removed expenses to be paid out of proposed town aid program fund. And then it just does some math for you, and you see the 19,450.
So, what does the head of DPW think about this? Have you had a chance to talk?
Oh,
to him?
yes, he was very delighted.
Okay. So
I actually ended up, it was interesting because I was thinking that he would be, reluctant, but he picked up on it right away, and he said, yes, I would have more money to work with, decreases the budget, doesn't affect taxes. So he was keen on it.
Right. So
And
I
all he
guess-
has to do is the same general things he does today, which is make out what a PO or whatever he's doing.
Different account number.
So I guess really, there was $145,000 roughly every year that should have been for the roads that wasn't being
Yes.
spent on the road.
Yes.
Mhm.
And he's working up his road plan for next year. We haven't laid it all out yet. He hasn't done that before. So that, we have something that we can, you know, publish to the public. So but here's where you see where we took amounts out, and these were the things that qualify. It was changed slightly when I worked with Sherry, because of what you said about you didn't.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is where, you know, this is where the detail is on that. Any questions? I can tell you, I'm delighted at the idea. So it's a pretty good one. And the dynamics with Chris, with Sherry, even with Laura, well, Laura on the insurance, but on this, were fantastic. Because it was kind of looking at something that we didn't realize was being done the way it was, or didn't think about it. And going, wait a minute, why are we doing it that way? And I think there was even a conversation with, Jim Rupert. He's
Well,
the
yeah.
town manager in Bolton. And also we talked with Sherry about, you know, how are they dealing with town aid road? And so we had a moment of creativity. And, I think this is absolutely the way to go.
Christina,
Go ahead.
so I think Christina alluded to it, but how would it be? How would we as a town show it? I mean, it looks like we're creating another fund, right? Is that the idea?
Yes,
Is
we
that-
are.
Is that how it's, that's
We're
how
very
we would
happy
see it?
fund.
Right, but that's how we would see it, like, that's how the auditors would see it as well, like, we would
It'll
have
be
a
like
fund.
Have library fund,
Okay,
drug fund,
right,
And the,
and the recreation fund.
you know, basically it's a banking of money that you can.
And you
for
said you
your
talked
project
with
expense.
Sherry and Jim, so is this how those towns are dealing with it? So it's something that other towns are doing, or do we need to
Yes.
find
what
out?
they're doing is they're applying town aid road to their roads.
Right, but
But they have special.
Special
Bolton
funds.
has a Special fund,
Right.
Sherry does,
here's what I don't want, next year when we get the audit, I don't want a letter from them saying, a management letter saying, you guys did it wrong, and
Nope.
we have to answer questions.
Yeah, let's let Sherry talk. Go ahead,
Okay.
Sherry.
TAR is supposed to be a separate fund by state statute. Here in Ashford, it hasn't been handled that way. Part of it was going to your capital and the other half was going as, counting as revenue in the town budget, you know, the town general fund revenues. So TAR is every town receives this money and they
Right.
have a fund set up for it. And it's strictly for roads, and it's, the amount of money is based on your length of roads, how many roads, unimproved, you get dollars for the number of roads, and you use it specifically for road maintenance, you know, anything to do with roads. So
I'm
we
just looking at from the accounting standpoint, like, how are we gonna track it, I guess?
easy,
Like
easy.
the other
No,
funds.
it's gonna be the same, how you track it, like the capital, like your rec fund, your youth service fund, your dog fund. Same
Okay.
exact thing. There'll be a new account set up and it's gonna show all your revenue that comes in and it'll show your expenses that come, you know, go out. So that will just show up in your audit report as another fund in the spreadsheets.
So that new fund will have these line items. Highway.
No,
police
it
maintenance?
doesn't, no, it wouldn't have, it doesn't have line items.
It's just gonna have
It's just a fund.
one flat number.
It's a fund.
Okay,
But
right, cause
those
that's,
expenses against that fund
I
are
mean,
tracked.
whatever is expended will be tracked,
yeah,
but it'll show up in the audit report, say, as just one amount of money.
Right.
gotcha,
That will accumulate like other funds do.
okay. And does this board have to vote to set up that fund?
Yes, you would.
Okay,
So
so
we cannot set up the fund on our own. That's correct, right? Like, as I recall, Sherry? The Board of Finance would approve setting up the fund.
I would do it. I would do it to be safe.
is that something we need to do tonight, or can we do it next week?
You could do that
You
next
could
week.
do it next week, it's
No, what I'm
fine.
showing, like, what I'm showing is basically a draft.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, and
any other questions on the
this one?
town aid road? Okay,
Let me just see, no, the way down.
You know what?
Key one. If you go to employee benefits, that's slide 31. And with this one, it shows under employee benefits, the reduction there. And when you see, again, when you see dollar difference, it's the difference between the fiscal year 24 budget and the proposed budget for this year. So it's actually less than we were paying last year, for this current year. $61,576 less.
and again, you need approval from the town, the impacted employees.
I need what?
You need approval from the impacted employees in town hall for this?
Yes, and, like I said, it was very positively received to the point where some of the employees stayed after and we looked up their doctors online.
And
in the
so
plan.
do you hope to have them sign off by a certain date?
So
or-
what Karen Zulik, who is the president of our union group, she's reached out to the higher ups at the state level, for the union, to see if there's any issues, if we have to do anything special. But the reality is our union contract, and Bill, you can chime in here if you like. The union contract just basically says if whatever we do needs to be essentially comparable with what we're already giving them. And this plan is not only comparable, it's actually less expensive for them as well. It's not just less expensive for the town, it's less expensive for them in terms of some of the payments they have to make. And it has comparable benefits. And Karen Zulik has been on the plan for 6 years, so she could speak to it in detail.
Because of a spouse?
And her husband, yes, because of her spouse.
Bill's got his hand.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Christina. Just to add to what Catherine is saying, the union contract actually calls for us to run any changes in the insurance being provided by the union. And we've always, as a matter of professional courtesy, extended that information to the non-union and appointed employees, just because obviously their families depend on the insurance they have, and we've always kept them in the loop. So Catherine has
Yep.
done a good job at bringing both the union and the non-union staff together on this. And from what I'm hearing, everybody is in favor of it.
Yeah, so we'll get something more formal from them. I just wanted to say I commend the school on pursuing this. You know, I got the news, how did I get the news? Like 2 days ago. Had they not done that, I just think we would have been in a world of hurt. So, I'm very hopeful that this is a good solution. And I'm pretty confident about it. Okay, going to slide 32. This is where I show the change in contingency. Where we upped it, or I upped it to 50,000. And then the rec fund, you see the difference based upon the insurance impact. Insurance impact.
So the one other comment I would make about contingency is we do have the audit RFP. And the deadline is March 26th. So on Tuesday, we'll be able to open those bids and have a better idea of what that total is gonna look like.
Right. I would caution you, I didn't think of it at the time, because I was kind of dealing with other things. But I would caution you about having them send it electronically, because what you're supposed to do with bids is open them all at the same time. So when they send it electronically, you're actually getting a sneak peek.
Well, I didn't realize that until
Yeah.
King and Associates said, I'm gonna email it to you on Tuesday.
Right,
So,
that's what we would be the thing that they should do.
right.
Okay,
But we
so,
have, just as an FYI, I think we're gonna have at least 3 stuff coming, 2, you've gotten 2,
We got two.
and then I think a third electronically, or no, just the 2?
I didn't get anything electronically.
Okay. Just the 2 then, so far, but we have until Tuesday. Anyway, but we'll at least have that to bring to the meeting on March 28th as well. If we need it.
and then if you go to slide 36. That's where, that's the bottom part of Parks and Rec. And you see where the actual changes were made there. Based upon the insurance rates. Insurance and dental. So she ends up with a net of, $572 negative for a request. And let me just take you down to the revenues. If you go to slide 40. And on that one, it shows town aid roads taken out of there. You know, the estimates are, I almost want to say they're not exact, they're just estimates that are in here, so the 147 and 50 from the actuals, that wasn't carried over, we ended up with a different number here, which is just what the number that was in the system. So we took that out.
So you can see on this slide, the motor vehicle tax cap grant, the last time we got that was fiscal year 23. There's nothing for fiscal year 24
Right.
and nothing for fiscal year 25.
So what you do see is an overall dollar difference of loss of $2,226, $564. But I can tell you that the town aid roads is based upon dealing with the new fund and everything. It's not really a loss for us. It's the the 80,500 from the municipal revenue sharing grant loss that's the bigger deal. Thing. Check. In addition, on slide 43, this is where we have it just shows the total. Okay.
So
So
that's
at this point in time, the department request total for the, all of the revenue does not match the expense total in our general government budget. I wouldn't record it because it's almost not worth saying. It's only because we're working through anything that has to happen with revenue. Okay, we don't have, the taxes to work with, and that kind of thing.
So what is, I don't know, Sherry, if you know this, or I don't know if it's in your document, but we typically say like grants, fees and other income, not taxes. According to the previous version of the budget, that number was 4,245,705. Is that gonna number stay the same or does that number get adjusted?
I'm
now?
sorry, I'm not following, where are you at, Christina? Sorry.
I think what you might want to do is go back to page 41 or slide 41.
Okay.
And that's where you see
Mm.
dollar differences where you see current year levy. And what was put in there is what the budget was for 24. Actually, not what was put in there, but it's showing that we don't have anything in there yet.
Yeah, you will not have a number there until you set a mill rate. That's what your mill rate will tell you what you're gonna be, what you have to collect for your current year taxes based on your budgets. So it's the difference between your revenue and your budget request. So pretty much you have to raise right now 11,961,578 if you go with the numbers that's presented. But of course, this is also going to change because Board of Ed is going to possibly have a new number. So this current year levy is going to be a moving target right now.
Right,
Yeah, I
I guess
would,
the number I'm looking.
I would not assume that it's going to be 11,961,578.
Right.
Because
No.
that's just what last year's was.
Right.
So what you have is something that's kind of amorphous right now. It'll
Mhm.
firm up once, we have a kind of a, these are what our expenses are really going to be.
Mhm.
And we have agreement on that.
I think the number I'm wondering about.
Go ahead.
Just to confirm, is this number. So now.
And that's, yeah,
This is total revenue.
Yep.
Is that's slightly different than what it was before.
yes, it is. I
Okay.
said it doesn't match. Okay, it's slightly different. That will get refined as we work through the rest of the revenue pieces.
Okay,
Would you agree, Sherry?
I will agree, and it will be different, of course, from last year by the almost 200,000 because of the movement of that TAR money and the loss of the municipal revenue sharing.
Right.
But the wash, it becomes a wash with the highway budget because you're also reducing the expenses. That 147 is going to be a wash because we
Right.
reduce the expenses. So it's going to be, right now it's your 80,000 plus whatever the increase is for expenses. So that's where you're going to have to raise, your difference based on, your mill rate that you set.
but this 4 million number for estimated revenues, like how close do we think that is? Or are we within like?
It's probably going to be pretty close unless the state comes back in the next few days and say they're changing their
Right.
whole,
Right, which they
revenue.
can always do.
They,
but-
they can, sometimes you can get more, sometimes they can adjust it. So this is an estimate. It's probably going to
Okay.
be pretty close to this, this may be off a little bit, but there's been a lot of moving numbers today and yesterday with insurances and changing things. So it will get cleaned up between now and when they make a decision, where the actual changes are going to take place.
I think what would be helpful for me is to see all of this needs to go into the accounting system, right? And then those reports come out.
Right.
Yes.
And that is exactly what we would do. The Board of Selectmen first need to approve this to get it into the system. We didn't wanna, we're not gonna jump ahead. The only jumping ahead is sharing this with you before the Board of Selectmen's had a chance to look at it in detail. So we will be meeting next week to formalize it, but I wanted to get your feedback on this. In terms of, you'd also be looking at this in terms of what you're looking at for a mill rate increase.
Right. I did plug in some numbers. Does anybody want to know what it looks like?
Sure.
And big caveat, of course, is obviously this is all very, very fluid. But I put in for general government, 4,042,818, which is the number Catherine shared at the top of the presentation. Just double check that, 4,042,818, yep. For the school, I put in 8,664,321. That's a 1% increase over fiscal year 24. And again, that we realize is very ballpark. And then I left Region 19 the same. I made that adjustment to the state or grants, fees and other income of that 4,098,386. And we've got the 7,000 in fire department abatements. yada, yada, yada. So the mill rate on real estate and personal property, because again, we have our cap on motor vehicles. But the mill rate on real estate and personal property with these numbers is 34.51. Which is a 1.425 mil increase over fiscal year 24. So substantially lower than what we were looking at. And this is where I'm a little confused. So
Could you repeat that, please?
1.425 mil increase over fiscal year 24. And the mill rate estimated is for real estate personal property is 34.51.
Have we heard anything back from E.O. Smith?
No, they will be meeting next Thursday. So we can, in theory, get late breaking news on what that
So
is.
perhaps somebody like Janice Chamberlain can call us or call you from that meeting,
Mhm.
to let you know we're going to be commercial.
Do you want me to reach out to
We've
her?
done that in the past.
I can do that. Okay. I'm just looking at the actual taxes. And I think okay. This. Minus that. So it's, if you look at a median home, the taxes would increase $239 to $238. Versus what we were looking at previously was a $400 increase.
You know, I understand using a median to share with the public what the increase could be. But what we used to do was we used to say, if a house was $100,000, and that number was used, and you're assessing it at 70% of its value, this is what your taxes increase would be. So if someone has a house that's worth $400,000, then they could do the math right there. When we use a median, it's a moving target. So it's, to me, it's much better to have the other, because people can at least look at it and go, well, wait a minute, my house is worth 300,000. So that means that's 3 times that for me. Just easier for them to grasp and apply to themselves.
So, any questions? Kind of feels like Christmas morning to me.
I'm sorry?
It feels like Christmas morning to me, like this is a very different
Yeah.
situation than I thought we were walking into, just a few hours ago, so.
Well, like I said, the changes came over the last few days, and that's why you see me kind of scrambling.
Yeah. I appreciate the effort, it sounds like it took a lot to pull this all together. I think it's very impressive. So. Next steps. Things need to be finalized over the next week. And then we come together on Thursday, March 28th to hopefully make decisions. I don't think we want to vote on anything this evening because it's too fluid at this point.
I'm, like I said, I'm being cautiously optimistic out of that. But I had hoped that, well, this is good news, so I hope we could finalize things, but tonight, but we can't with all these things that need to be approved. And it's not, that would be impossible, because I think we'd be chasing our tail next week. I don't think we can really There's really, I think we've discussed everything that's changed. But there's no way that I mean, until we actually have the hard numbers that we can say. I mean, you guys work hard, I'm super impressed by that, so. You know, and I know what it takes, so, it's really good, I'm still gonna remain cautiously optimistic until everything comes through.
Well, again, with the insurance, we couldn't have stayed with the other one.
Well, no, that's fine, that's a great choice, it's just I know that the unions have to approve it and the boards have to approve it, et cetera, and.
I don't think we're gonna have a problem with you.
No, I don't think so either, but, you know, we have to wait till those approvals get done before we can, because we'd basically be creating a budget off of something that's not even finalized by your two boards.
Well, Board of Selectmen's gonna meet before us.
Actually, Bill and Roger, can we meet on Monday?
Surprise!
Well, I got them both together.
9 o'clock?
We have something else on Monday. We have interviews at 11.
We have interviews.
At 11, and I have something at 10. Yeah, we can go for 9.
I'll be there.
Thank you.
So,
So-
Sounds good to me. I'll put it on the calendar.
so the Board of Selectmen will have the opportunity to have their say on Monday, so that'll tee us up for Thursday. And the Board of Ed is gonna meet on Thursday, but bat signal us.
Yep.
To let us know.
And whatever the Board of Selectmen decides on Monday is what we're gonna put in the system.
Right,
Okay, so I want us all to be mindful of the fact that Sherry is still essentially part-time. Trying to be, mindful of the fact that she's not here until Fridays. Although she and I have had some Teams meetings late at night.
Well, thank you,
Part-time
Dutch.
until April 1st, and she better not forget it.
Show up
Okay.
with,
So-
bushy-tailed, bright-eyed and
Yeah.
bushy-tailed.
So I have another question. Based upon your calendar, or what you've laid out for dates, you were talking about maybe making a decision on April 2nd, or,
We have that on the calendar. So if we need it,
so we've got stuff in the Citizen that's going out.
yeah, that says budget books will be available the week of April 3rd. I tried to phrase it very,
Right. You also have to keep in mind that we have the notice requirements
Right.
for the number of days before the public hearing, that the notice has to appear. I sent you those dates.
yeah. So are you trying to say that we need to make a decision on March 28th?
Sorry?
Are you trying to say that we need to make a decision next Thursday? That's the ideal
You
scenario,
have to have numbers for the legal notice.
right? I mean, that's my intention.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's all of our intentions.
like I said, I would have liked it done tonight, but that's just not possible, because we don't have numbers.
So bear with me. Again, the next day
Yeah, it's Good Friday.
is Good Friday and it's Easter weekend. And I don't, if there are any changes or whatever to what's already been put in the system, I don't want to have a situation where I have people working on that holiday. So changes would not go in until Monday. I'm looking at Sherry. She doesn't know I'm looking at her, but I'm looking at her.
Well, that's our first day.
Is it
So-
April 1st?
Welcome aboard.
I know.
There you
It's
go.
nothing new. It's nothing new.
And what we would do is we'll print, the reports. But it's the Board of Finance's responsibility to make copies and get them to where they need to get to, because it's a public hearing that you run. When it comes to the town meeting, that's when we do it,
Correct.
Okay.
okay? So you'll be doing your budget letter anyway.
Mhm.
And, yeah,
I think,
Then you'll look to get the Region 19 number.
yes, I'm gonna communicate with, one of our reps, Janice, so that she can hopefully text us as it's happening, whatever the final number is.
so what typically happens, I'm trying to remember their schedule, and maybe you have it there because you
I
have the
do.
overall schedule, is that they will be making a final decision until, or a final decision until around the time you're holding the public hearing. That night is, it used to be, someone would call us
I show
that
it as,
night.
I show it as the week before on this calendar, so I think we have.
You might be
We
okay.
may have adjusted it, yeah.
So the
Actually, I thought
region
you touched somebody, I
19,
forget what her name was.
well, this is why the Tuesday, April 2nd date comes up, because, the
That's-
region 19 budget is adopted on Tuesday, April 2nd. So I think that's why the schedule always has that Tuesday date. So we can,
It's
so yeah,
adopted to text public hearing.
Right.
yeah. So
Chris,
Cindy, what was the woman's name that, she's the superintendent over there? Blonde hair, Sharon. If you get in touch with Sharon early, cause I spoke to her last year and she helped immensely.
Yeah, Sharon is very agreeable and helpful.
And she'd tell you kind of where they
Where
were
it's going.
going.
Oh, okay, good to know.
But Janet would be the one that would call from the meeting. and
Janice.
Janice. Excuse me.
Chris, I was just gonna ask, what's the time requirement for the notice for the public hearing?
More than 5 and less than 10.
More than 5 and less than 10. Okay, so I'm just looking at this. So April 2nd, if they adopt their budget, we could do the same thing, get a phone call. It could be a short meeting. We hopefully by the 28th, we've approved the other two. It would just be it would just be region 19.
And you have your public hearing on the 9th?
Right, that's what I'm getting
So
at. So,
what will happen is you'll have the numbers for that, which is
right,
good.
and then, so there's enough time to publish that inside
And
that.
even if there wasn't during the public hearing, you remember, you have the public hearing, you can make mention of it, and then after the public hearing, you have your special board of
Right,
finance
special
meeting where you finalize it
Right.
to send it to the selectmen with a request for the annual town meeting, town budget.
The region 19 budget is technically out of our hands. We don't have it.
Right, but you know what? They always reduce it.
They do. Well.
Well, chase us, Catherine. Okay, so I think we've got all the logistics now. Yeah? And as we get, because you're probably gonna have like something from your accounting system before Thursday.
Yep.
When you get it, you'll send it to me, I'll disseminate it. If the board of selectmen makes a final decision on Monday. And it
We'll
gets to
see
the
how quickly
accounting
we can get it in.
system.
We'll get it in, verify it, and then send it to you.
So we should, in theory, be able to see it before Thursday.
Right.
So we can come prepared with questions if we have any. Okay, the next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding the Ashford Board of Education's request to move $84,215 from the FY 22-23 budget to the 10-248A non-lapsing account.
Christina, before we move on,
Uh-huh.
can I just ask, you to ask the board if there are any questions for other departments, because there are people in the audience who are here to answer any questions from
Oh.
other departments.
Okay. Are there any questions for other
And
departments?
then I can let those people go home.
We do have,
And we do have the answers to
we
those.
do
to those
have
questions.
exhaustive questions and answers in print format.
Yeah,
that people can refer
I
to.
would just like to commend Paul, because Paul works a full-time job. He's a fire chief dealing with all kinds of things and the administration at the fire department. And he ended up having to call other departments to find out how they were structured. All of that took quite a bit of time, and I appreciate the effort that you made.
No problem.
I appreciate the effort as well, and I think it helps us make the case for the public as to why
I suspect you have less
You know
of
what
a
I'm saying.
case, I suspect you have less of a case to make. If in
with the
fact,
numbers.
you have a 1.425 million increase.
Yes,
Okay?
Yeah.
Like I said, the selectmen are loath to cut that budget.
yes. So no questions for other departments? No. Okay. Back to item D. So this is the thing we do every year where we move the money that the Board of Education has left over into their non-lapsing account, and also known as the 1% fund, because it is supposed to be 1% of their budget. Although the state does now allow us to move up to 2%, our policy as of right now is to move 1%. Would someone like to make a motion that we move $84,215 to the non-lapsing account?
No motion.
Judy made the motion. A second?
Second,
Paul? Okay, any discussion? I'll just mention too, just to remind folks or people that don't know, so the non-lapsing account, typically we have used monies from that to fund capital projects for the school. And that is included in the capital improvement plan we have before us today. Any other comments or questions on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. You know what I just realized? We didn't talk about the capital improvement plan.
Okay,
Um,
you have that document. It is attached to the write-up on the county road funding.
oh, okay. So what are the changes here, Catherine?
So what you see is there's nothing on there for Town Aid Road for the new year. Also, I would suggest that, going forward and before this goes out to the public, that, the highlighted column be changed and make it be the one that's being proposed. So it kind of points people to it. It's great that they get to see what last year's was. But, what this would do is make it so that they don't get confused and look at the wrong column. Okay, so Town Aid Road has come off of it and would not be reflected there at all. Okay, so, the only reason we still have it there is because of the current year activity. And the, fire station roof has come off. Because, hopefully, you will consider paying for that out of the, undesignated fund. And we haven't been able to get the cost for a metal roof, which we are looking at, just to see if that's a possibility. It would be more expensive than what's being considered or what we already have an estimate for, but we'd like to just double check it's more durable. And we did, I should say that Paul did verify that you can put solar on it, because that was another concern.
But again, that roof would be town.
It would not be reflected on here because it's not, you'd have to have a town meeting to appropriate the money from the undesignated fund.
And so then, and now the new CNR balance is 343,018. Now, what are the LoSiP dollars going towards?
LoSiP is for public works or town projects, it's not specifically for roads, right, Sherry?
That is correct. LoSiP is local capital improvement, so you can use that money for any project.
Right.
Okay. And we've got the 3 school projects coming out of the Ashford School non-lapsing fund. And then the school bonding for the roof. Could we approve this tonight? Should we?
I would wait and approve this at the point where you approve the other ones.
Okay.
Because there may be a change in here based upon what we find out. You know, there may be a change,
Maybe the state will give us more money.
okay,
can
we'll
always
wait for that change.
I'm not holding
That
it
doesn't
up.
really happen.
Okay. That's fine with me. I just don't want to hold things up.
No, I don't think you're really holding, you're not holding anything up on this because the decisions need to be made basically at the same time.
Okay.
As to what's gonna go forward with the public.
Okay, so. Then maybe now we're back to item E. Discussion and possible action regarding transfer of monies from the unassigned fund balance to the capital non-recurring fund for capital improvements. But perhaps we don't want to do that if we're not 100% sure that this is the.
Actually, I'm
Capital
just gonna,
improvement
I'm
plan.
gonna make it really, I wanna make a motion that we transfer 500,000 even to capital non-recurring from the undesignated fund balance. And once, if somebody seconds it, I'll explain why.
I'll
Always work that. So, you,
There's something in mind.
what's
If
that?
you look at the column 25, 26,
This one.
you've got a lot of big ticket items in there.
Yep.
Like a bus.
Right.
So
So now that we did it, can we discuss it? And I'll explain.
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing, or first reason is that of 5,701 came up as, because that was the original capital improvements thing. We can put money into that fund at any time, actually. So right now, the new number is 343, so we're gonna add a little bit more than we're supposedly gonna use this year. So that's a good thing, that'll help the fund. At the same time, we have the roof at the fire department, under consideration out of an undesignated fund balance, so I don't want to necessarily take all that out of the unassigned fund right now. I know that we could pull it out of CNR if we needed to, but that just is another process. So. Go ahead.
We don't normally, even as the first selectman and an ex officio member of your board, when you have a motion on the floor, we don't speak, okay? You're the voters on that. So if you're giving me permission to, I would
That's up
just,
to her.
Yeah.
I'm giving you permission.
okay. I don't think you need to do that tonight.
Do what?
Okay? Do the movement tonight.
Okay.
I think you ought to let the dust settle a little bit around this, so you know what you really have. Do you feel that you have, do you know what your percentage of your budget is going to be? You know, it's gonna be 11%, is it, you know, what?
Well, according to this, it's gonna be 12.4, but it'll be a little more
Well,
with
let
that.
me ask a question because I can't remember on this. Sherry? When bonding agents or whatever, look at what we've got in our undesignated fund, general fund.
Yep.
No, undesignated fund, I should say.
Designated. Mm-hmm.
Do they, and when they're assessing what we've got, and they're coming up with, okay, that's 12%, are they looking at 12% of the current year budget? Or are they looking at 12% of the next budget? Because at the point in time, we go to get, well, we'll be getting bonding before this passes. right?
Okay, so typically what happens when you're doing bonding, they're gonna ask for your audit report, whichever one was finished. So they're gonna see that your audit report did 16%, whatever the exact numbers. So they're gonna look at that. They're not gonna ask what your fund balance is as of today. If you approved the $500,000, moved it, it lowered your fund balance to 11%. They're not looking at that because this is moving, because it could change at the end of, 25.
All right, thank you. So.
I mean,
the
it
other
could change
part-
at the end of 24. I'm sorry, because we're coming up on 24. Too many numbers. Because you're gonna have things that roll back into that fund balance again. And we
Right.
won't have audited numbers by the time we go to bonding, I don't think, because that'll be more towards December, and the bonding should come into play before that.
May.
So,
So can I ask a question, Sherry?
of course.
So how do you account for dollars that would be in excess of what we've said we're going to fund in the capital improvement plan via CNR?
You-
So in
you
this
can-
case, it's about
Yeah.
150.
You can move, like Paul said, you can move money there anytime you want. Basically, it goes into that fund and that becomes your undesignated money in that fund. So what towns have done, I've seen in the past, is that if you've got a good fund balance, an undesignated fund balance, they move it strictly to capital, so it protects that money in another fund. Because the state was proposing, what, maybe 2-3, no, it's probably longer than that. It's
No,
actually
it
been
wasn't
3
that
years.
long ago.
It was about 5 years ago, probably. They were proposing that if towns had healthy fund balances, they weren't going to give you grant money. They were going to reduce what they give to you in revenue. So some towns were taking their money and moving it to a capital, so it's not accounted for in your general fund. So you
So-
could move money at any time.
So Paul, in terms of moving 500,000, if in fact you were going to be considering using money from the undesignated fund to pay for the fire department roof,
Well,
you
that's
want to
what,
make sure you got the money in the undesignated fund,
but that's,
because otherwise you'd have to be moving money back there.
so what's,
When you're thinking about what your balance is gonna be.
Sherry,
in
what's-
undesignated.
what would,
I don't know the percentage right offhand, but let's say as audit, there was what, 2.7, 2.6 that was in our audit report. So,
Right.
just reduce that. I mean, you have I'm gonna say it's 2.7. I know I'm not quoting the correct number, but you have that amount of money that's undesignated, so you could
I think
move.
I can give you the exact number.
Thank you.
I have written down the unassigned fund balance. This is as of the last audit.
Yep.
Was 2,552,699. Does that sound right?
That would be
Excuse
correct.
me, can I,
Yes, Pat.
you keep calling things the undesignated fund, then you call it the unassigned fund. What are those two different
Same thing.
funds?
It's
Same
the same.
Well, then you ought to,
Try to be,
Okay.
let's try to be consistent.
According to the audit, it's called the unassigned fund balance.
Okay.
And it's 2,552,699. And the total general fund budgeted expenditures as of that audit was $15,692,700, giving us a percentage of 16.3%.
So if you reduced that number by the 500, you're down to 2 million, and then you're looking at 100,000 for the roof. You got 199, 1.9, sorry, 1.9 million.
Well, but we also moved 16,000.
And then 16, yep.
Yeah, so.
And now
what-
81. So you're at 1.8 round. It could be a little less, but
right,
round numbers.
I don't know, I feel like you should do the math
Yeah.
and come back next week. Because I'm getting confused looking at it, and I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure we know
Correct.
what the numbers are, what the percentage is. Before
Correct.
we say to move that money.
I
But there
think
is a motion on the table with a second, so,
You can either vote or withdraw the motion.
and that would be up to Paul to withdraw the motion.
I'm doing the math right now.
Oh. Come on, Excel.
So out of that current unassigned fund balance, we've removed 84,215 for the school.
Yep.
We removed 16,801
Thank you.
for the recreation department. And my proposal was 500,000, which would be 1.951, give or take. By 15,692.
I'm getting 9.9% would be less.
I'm getting 12.4%. Doesn't mean my math is right.
So then you take that number and divide it into your budget that was in, that Christine gave, and that'll give you your percentage.
Yeah, this is why I
Well-
would rather do this next week. Cause I'm not getting the same number that you're getting.
Well, because here, this is, right, so,
Well, can I just ask a question?
go ahead.
Is there any harm in waiting until next week?
No, there's no harm in waiting until the week after, but we just keep
No, you
kicking
don't,
this can down the road.
It'd be nice if you, what you could do next week is make your decisions about the budgets. And then do, at that point in time, also do this.
So I'll withdraw the motion so we can get some more
Your
comments.
second will need to withdraw as well.
Okay.
That's okay.
He has to
So,
withdraw.
so yeah, so Paul made the motion and Keith seconded, so Paul has withdrawn it and Keith withdrew his second. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to verify those numbers.
I'll
Yeah,
get that for you for next week.
okay, great.
And because that was the motion that was not voted on, it does not need to be recorded.
Okay,
What did you say?
You don't need
Because
to-
it was a motion that no action, it was not voted on, it doesn't need to be recorded.
Oh, okay.
Might save you a little work.
really quickly, we talked about this already, but just to remind everybody where we are. So we're not even on this calendar, but Tuesday, March 26th is the Region 19 public hearing on the superintendent's budget. And then Tuesday, April 2nd is when they adopt their budget. And again, I will reach out to Sharon, the superintendent, just to see what's happening, where does she think things are gonna land? And also reach out to Janice so that we can be in communication that day. Hopefully, we're gonna adopt a general government and a Board of Ed budget and a capital improvement plan at the next meeting on March 28th. And then we may have to have a brief meeting on April 2nd to approve that Region 19 number. Yes, does that make sense? Do I have that right? Okay. I think that's it on the budget, on that. Okay. Agenda items for the next meeting, is all of this stuff. Plus, potentially voting on setting up a TAR fund. Right, we said we have to actually make a motion and approve that. So we'll be approving budgets and that TAR fund at the next meeting. And also, the transfer from the unassigned fund balance to the capital non-recurring fund will be on the next agenda. Anything else that I'm not thinking of for March 28th? Okay. Remarks from the good of the board? Just thank you, everyone. Really, Cindy and Catherine, like I said, it felt like Christmas morning. I didn't know I could get so excited about a budget. Totally changed the dynamics of the conversation, I think, and I think it's appreciated. I think citizens of Ashford will appreciate the work that's been done. Really tremendous, I think. And the Board of Finance members, I just want to thank you guys for holding on through this process, which has been a little bit more fluid than maybe we would like, but I think by giving time and space, we are gonna end up with a better situation than if we had kind of push through things, so I think it's working out for the best. And thank you, Chris, for your hard work as well. And thanks for people hanging in on the meeting.
And Sherry,
And Sharon
And Sherry. Thank you.
out there in the ether.
and Laura, and I'm sorry.
And Laura,
Absolutely.
and
Okay.
Catherine for her late night.
So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Judy made the motion. Who wants the second? Keith? I'm gonna say Keith seconded. All in favor? Aye, thank you. See you next week.
Night,
Bye.
folks.
Good night.
Bye.